Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Actually, you know what? I have a friend of mine here who usually say Happy Friday Eve. Hey, thank you for hopping on with me. If you're just joining the live stream, you're welcome. I just wanted to tap in with you, especially those community members of mine, considering what has been going on the markets the last few weeks, right? There's been a bloodbath, as we call it in the investment community, because everything is red. And when everything is red, what that really means is one of two things, right? The people who are afraid, the weak hands, the shaky, anxious, and untrained eyes, to them it's bloody. It is bad. It is negative. It is time to fold, panic, sell at a loss, and take your losses and run. But to a very small minority of people who understand what investment is all about, who understand how building generational wealth works, and who understand that these are opportunities for the greatest transfer of wealth. You know what they do? They just smile and they get more gunpowder and they buy more of the assets that are at the discount. You know, this is probably one of the greatest wealth transfers that is going to happen, because if you have any idea of what is going on today, especially in the US and most parts of the Western world, right? The aging population is really significant, and they are projecting that over the next 10 years, trillions of dollars will need to be transferred to the younger generation, because you have a lot of these older generation people, 65 years and older, who are retiring. Their kids don't want to inherit their businesses, their spouses don't want to keep it, their grandchildren don't want to do it, and sometimes they have nobody to take care of the businesses they have built. And these are mom and pop businesses, but $1 million businesses, right? And so this wealth has to be transferred one way or the other. These same people have a lot of assets too on the stock market, right? So during opportunities like this, when you see the stock market red, you have a group of people who will be panicking, and you have a small minority of people who are just going to be rubbing their hands together, smiling, and going out for the kill. You know why? Because the story, history, and legacy of the stock market has always been the same. This movie we are seeing right now, with technology stocks dropping 17, 18%, Amazon has dropped about 10%, Microsoft about 15%, Apple another 10%. You know, the S&P 500 has dropped, I think, 2% or something like that. Bitcoin has dropped from the highs of 120,000 a Bitcoin in October of last year. Now it's down to about 68,000 as of the last time I checked this evening before the markets closed. So we've seen this rodeo over and over and over again. In fact, this has been the story of the stock market for the last 110 years. So what that really means for you and me, and if you're serious about investing, right? If you if you really are serious about building wealth and investing for the long haul, you know that these too shall pass, because the way investments work is very simple. The stock market has produced positive results of averagely 10% growth over the last 110 years since the existence of the stock market. I want you to understand what I'm saying, guys. I am barely 49 years old in March. Sorry, 49 years young. I don't look it, I hope. Right? I don't look my age. Do I? I look 21. Don't I, Roland? Roland, confirm. Don't I look 21? I might have lost my hair, but I still got the youth, I hope. But anyways, the stock market has been existing for at least 110 years. And in that time, the stock market averages about 10% growth every year. Now, what that means is, it doesn't mean the market goes up all the time. That's not it. What it really means is that the market has a pattern it follows. Wave up, wave down. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it comes down, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it comes down. But at the end of the day, in any long term period of time, the graph is actually going up. So what that means is basically if you invest in the market over the long term for a period of time, you are going to make money, hands over fist, and you are going to be successful. So when you go out, like what has been happening the last 1 month, the stock market is red, the market is dropping, prices of companies are dropping. What that really means is that for those who are in the game for the long haul, which I hope it is you, what that means is that that is an opportunity for you to get the same assets that you could get a few months ago for a higher price at a discounted price. It always amazes me because the stock market is the only marketplace in the world people are afraid to buy things at a discount. Think about it for a second, right? Think about it this way, guys. Just to give you an example of how powerful this thing is, because the US stock market is the #1 wealth building machine in the world, bar none. There is no other single entity that gives everyday people like you and me, no matter your income level, no matter your race, no matter your religious creed, no matter where you come from, as long as you have access to the US stock market, you can build wealth. If you are consistent, you're disciplined, and you have a long-term view. So think about it this way, right? A lot of the assets today, something like Apple has dropped by 17%. Do you think over the last 1 month, all of a sudden, the company itself has become less valuable? Do you think Apple has stopped making iPhones? Do you think Apple has stopped becoming a good company? No. What really happened is that the sentiments of investors switched from positivity, enthusiasm to fear. And when investors are afraid, what they do first is to rush and sell their assets. And when they go selling their stocks, what happens is that supply increases, the prices drop, and you see these companies at a cheaper price. But you know that eventually it is not going to stay down there because the companies are good and people's emotions are going to change again in the next few months because something positive will happen and they'll believe again in the market and they'll start buying, and that's when the prices start rising. So if you're buying the assets now at a discount, at a lower price, let's say you are getting an asset like Apple at maybe $205, or you're getting an asset like AMD, right, which is a chips company, at $203, the last price I saw yesterday. AMD was $280 3 months ago. So if you're getting it at $203, what you know for sure is that it's a matter of time. If you just hold it long enough, it's going to get back to 280 and even beyond. And so you have a clear profit at that point of about $100. And if you hold it for another 5 years, you imagine where it's going to be. Hold it for another 10 years, you imagine. Guys, the reason why I talk about this with so much passion is to make you understand something. The stock market is not a casino. The stock market is not a platform to gamble on. The stock market is the platform where wealth is transferred from the weak hands, from those who are afraid and scared, to those who are patient, courageous, and consistent. I want you to get that. That's where wealth is transferred. That's the only platform that gives everybody the possibility to aspire and genuinely become millionaires in a lifetime. You know why? Because your money works for you without you applying your physical energy or your physical body. I mean, that is a deal that is incomparable. Because one of the things people don't realize is that you're not going to be healthy forever. You're not going to be young and strong forever. In fact, most people have at most 30 years of high productive work. And in those 30 years of your work life, you only have about 15 to 17 years where you are really, no, you really have 15 to 20 years where you are energetic. Of those 15 to 20 years, you only have about 15 years where you are really at the optimal of your efforts. The rest of the other years, you are either already above 60, you are getting tired, or you are getting older and you're working towards retirement, or you are much, much younger, you are not earning much yet, but you are starting off your journey. So you have really about 10 to 15 years of maximum earning. And during that time when you are earning the maximum you can earn, you don't want to be squandering that money. You want to be thinking of how you can use that money as a seed, because you must always remember the income you make, the salary you earn, The money you get paid, these are seeds. And if you don't plant them to multiply, what happens is you eat them as a fruit. And when you eat them as a fruit, automatically it has no chance of growing again. So you must understand, guys, no matter the circumstance, other than God, oxygen, the next most important thing is your investments and investment in assets on the stock market. Let me tell you something. When I think about the three things that have changed my life the most in my adult life, I don't know of the other two, but I know of the stock market as one of them. You know why? Because that is the only vehicle I was able to put money into assets. I turn my back away. I set up automatic investments. I walk away. I don't even look at it. I don't care what happens. I don't care where the war is happening. I don't care what's happening to the US economy. I don't care who is on TV talking what about the economy. I move on with my life. I just continue to invest consistently. And 10 years later, I am significantly in a better financial position than I was about 15 years ago when I filed for bankruptcy, when I lost 2 homes to foreclosure. When I was coming back from a failed 3 years venture in Africa, I was beaten, I was broken, I was finished. I got to the airport and immigration held me for overstaying my green card. I had $800 in my pocket and I used 785 of those dollars to pay for a penalty for that, to reinstate my green card. So when I talk to you, I'm not talking out of just something I read in some book. I'm talking about experience. I'm talking about the transformation that happened between year 10 and year 20 after I came to America. That could only happen because of investments on the stock market. That could only happen because on the stock market, you are almost certain that if you hold your assets long enough, you are going to end up positive on the positive side. I want you to understand that, because there is no other way around it. If you're going to be saving your money, you are actually putting fire under your money, because savings rates are going to drop even significantly more. Generally, savings rate hardly outpace inflation. So if you're just saving your money in the bank, like a client of mine told me the other day, I asked my client, why do you have $100,000 in your savings account? Well, I just feel good about that. I said, but okay, why exactly? I mean, tell me about feeling good. Well, that's my emergency fund. If something happens to me, I need the money. I said, but how much is your monthly bills? And he told me $5,000. I said, but that's for 20 months. Do you think if you have an emergency, you won't be able to recover in 20 months? Number one. And even if you're not able to recover, do you need all the money at once? Why do you have 100,000 in an account that gives you 3%? That 3% is less than inflation. Inflation is about 2.73% every year. So basically, your money is becoming worthless as the years go by. So you must be able to invest part of that money. I told him, listen, you have to move 50% of that money into an investment account. That way you have only 50 in a savings account as an emergency fund. The other 50 will be generating value for you. You'll be generating revenue for you. You'll be generating growth for you. You'll be averaging about 8 to 10% every year, like the S&P 500 does. In fact, this past year, the S&P the S&P 500 returned about 24%, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know what 24% is? It means if you invested 100,000, if you invested $1,000, it returned $240. Do you know how powerful that is, guys? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here. And here's even the much interesting part of it. It returned all of that money without you doing anything. Are you the CEO of Apple? Do you work for Amazon? Do you work for Walmart? Do you work for Costco? Do you work for all these companies that are in the S&P 500? You don't. You don't even know who their CEO is. You don't even know where their head office is. You don't even care to know what is happening with their operations. I go to Walmart to buy my stuff. That's all I care about. I know the Walton family owns Walmart. I don't know who the CEO is. I don't care to know who the CFO is. I don't want to know how many people are employed in Walmart. It doesn't matter to me. You know why? Because my only goal is, as much as I buy from Walmart, I want to make sure I own their stock. That way, as I am spending money buying goods from Walmart, the stock is growing and returning my money back in my pocket. Is that so complex? I have a friend of mine the other day. I called him, we were chatting, and I told him, because he's a member of Costco, I told him how I get my Costco memberships free. And he was surprised. He said, I didn't know you can get it free. I said, you can get it free. He said, well, you have some connection. I said, I don't have no connection. It's open for everybody. He said, how do I do it? I said, I simply just buy Costco stocks. Because Costco pays a dividend. A dividend is something a company pays you, a bonus. A company pays you for owning the company stocks. Costco pays a dividend. And if I look at the amount of Costco stocks I have, the amount of dividend I get every year, it's more than the amount of money I spend on my Costco membership. So my membership is free, guys. And in addition to that, I have extra money on that. And then imagine, as I continue to invest in Costco for the next 20 years, what is that going to be like? Guys, don't joke with your lives. Don't joke with your investment life. Hear from me. Avoid the big man syndrome. Avoid trying to prove things that you're not. You don't impress people. You know the real flex? Let me tell you what the real flex is in the time we live today and going forward. The real flex in the time we live today and going forward is never going to be cars or houses, because we all have access to that. I'm going to Miami in a few weeks. If I want to drive a Lamborghini, I will rent it from Turo. A Lamborghini on Turo is maybe $2,000. I pay a caution for another whatever. I put a credit card, and I'll have that damn thing for 24 hours. I can take videos with it. I can take pictures with it. I can drive on the highway, and I can satisfy the thrill that I drove a Lamborghini too. I don't need to own it. I don't. I learned this from Warren Buffett, the great Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett told, he gave an interview. He said he had a friend of his, and this friend had a big yacht. And he realized that every time the guy is spending time on the yacht, sometimes 2 weeks, 3 weeks on the yacht, there's always complaints. Oh, they did spell. It took 4 days for the mechanics to come and repair it. Somehow the guy was never happy on the damn thing. And Warren Buffett asked him, you spend about $7 million a year running and maintaining your yacht. Why do you do that? Why don't you just rent one whenever you need it? Guys, you need to understand how these things work. The market is red. The stock market is down. This is an opportunity for people who understand what they are doing. Don't go panic selling your stocks at a very low price. Because the people who are not trained, the people who don't understand how this works, what happens to them is that they go buy this, they go selling their stocks right now because there is fear on the market. So they sell at a loss because they bought some of the things. Let's say, for example, they bought some shares at $100 a share. Now it's dropped to $70, 65. They start panicking and they go sell that share. And then in a few months, when the market picks up again and the thing is back to $100, they go buy it for $100. Who is the fool here? Who has lost money? Can you imagine how much they've lost? In that transaction, that back and forth transaction, they've easily lost $35 to $40 a share. That's why you need to understand that there is a process to this. That's why you need to understand it's important to have a little knowledge about what is happening. That's why I do what I do. That's why I have a webinar coming up on the 26th of February. I'll put the link to the webinar down in the description of this live video. If you look on my Instagram page, my Facebook page, you'll see the link. You can click on it and book a spot for yourself. I'll be breaking down these things. I'll be teaching you cleanly and clearly how to take positions in the stock market and build wealth on the market. I'll be helping you with clarity, because a lot of people, the challenge with them is not the lack of money, it's the lack of clarity. They don't know, one, what to do with their money when it comes in. They don't know how to structure it. They don't know how to automate it. They don't know how to invest it. They don't know what to buy when they're investing, and they don't know how to build wealth. You are not born with those things. You learn them. You have to be humble to seek guidance, to go with people who are heading in that direction. So if you know what's good for you, click on that link and secure a spot for that webinar coming up. It's only a $197 investment for the VIP package and $97 for the general admission package. That is less than a bottle of fine liquor for most people who listen to me. That's your future. That's your life. Cheaper than a single hour of trail for nothing. Guys, I need you to understand what's going on. Your only savior when it comes to building a comfortable life in the next 20 to 25 years, if you're still in your 40s or in your 30s, is going to be investing in assets on the stock market. Hear from me and hear from me very well. I've done a lot of things in this life. I've been through the process. I've had a lot of experience in entrepreneurship, in working for people, in earning a salary. When I came to America, I started off as a nursing assistant 25 years ago. 2 years later, I became a licensed practical nurse. I started working as a licensed nurse. I was putting in the hours like crazy. I was working around the clock, 4 jobs. I had energy, but I knew that was not all about my life. I knew there was something more. I left that after a few years, 7 years. I went to business school in one of the top business schools in the world, in the University of California in Berkeley. I paid $90,000 cash out of my pocket, money I made working as a licensed practical nurse. I have sold used cars. I used to buy cars from the auction, repair them, and sell them. I have done network marketing. I've sold for some of the top network companies like Amway. I have sold insurance. I've done a lot of those things, let me tell you. And I want to use this word very carefully, just so it doesn't come as if we minimize this. But the simplest way to multiply your money is through the stock market. It is simple, but it is not easy. There is a difference between being simple and being easy. Simple, it simply doesn't take a lot of effort, a lot of physical and mental effort. But easy is simple, but the difference between simple and easy, simple means it doesn't take a lot of physical effort, it doesn't take a lot of mental effort. Easy means it could be done without doing it, but a lot of people don't do it even though it's easy. It could be done without overthinking it, but a lot of people don't do it even though it is easy. It is simple, it is easy, but a lot of people don't do the easy things. People like to do the hard things. People like to do the things that are complicated. People like to do the things that don't necessarily give them the rewards that they need. Let me tell you one of the challenges we face a lot as immigrant people, because a big part of the community I operate in, the big part of my community, the people who listen to me, who follow me, are mostly immigrants. And immigrants are some of the hardworking people, the hardest working people in America. But let me tell you the big challenge as immigrants we have, and if you don't fix that problem, you will hardly ever be able to build something significant with your life and your money. Number one, avoid trying to do complex things. All right? Avoid trying to do complex things. Do the simple things. The most successful people who have built $1 million portfolios on the US stock market did the simple, boring, unsexy things consistently over time. What I mean by that, you're hanging out on the veteran field with your friends, and somebody starts telling you about some stock, some company. You've never heard about that company. You go research the company. It has 5 employees. Why would you be investing your money in a company that's not proven? That is where you start making those bad, brutal mistakes. You want to do the simple things. Don't try to do the complex things. Don't try to do the investments that sound interesting, sexy, and fun at conversations that make you feel smart. Smart never translates to money in the pocket. If smart was money in the pocket, all the people who used to be first in class when we were going to school would have been billionaires today. It will not be high school dropouts and university dropouts who are billionaires in the world. I don't know if that makes sense. Do the simple things. Invest in the companies that you know and love and use and are tried and tested. You shop for Walmart every day. Why would you be trying to invest in some crazy thing? Somebody wants to build some hall to rent something in where you're trying to do that. Why don't you just invest in Walmart? Isn't that where you buy your toothpaste every day? Isn't that where you spend $300-400 a week of your income? Why don't you invest in Costco? Again, this is not financial advice, but I'm just teaching you how to think about investing on the market, right? It's not that complex. You use an iPhone. Do you have stocks of Apple? You've been using iPhone. You tell people, oh, I'm an iPhone user. I can never use anything else. I'm locked into iPhone. My watch is Apple. My phone is iPhone. My whatever it is. How do you call this thing? iPad is Apple. Everything is Apple. My glasses is Apple. My this is Apple. But God damn, you don't even have an Apple stock, for God's sake. You don't even have a way of making money out of the company you spend thousands of dollars on every year. And you think you're going to get rich? And you think you can build wealth? Guys, I mean, I want you to understand this. I just finished a live presentation with my friend and bosom brother, Dr. Edimo, a few hours ago, about 2 hours ago, where he actually, I was interviewing on the platform, and he talked about a lot of things. If you haven't watched that session, go to YouTube and watch that. Guys, but listen, let me tell you something. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. Immigrant people are the hardest working people in America, bar none. Let me say that, number one. Number two, immigrants in this country generally make significant amounts of money. The challenge most immigrants have is they don't know how to multiply their money. Do you know that immigrants, especially African immigrants, save 5 times more than the average savings rate in America? But they invest 4 times less than the average investment rate. That tells me there is a disconnect. There is a disconnect between how people make money and how they attempt to multiply that money. That's why I spend time teaching these things. That's why I spend 7 hours a day listening to mentors, paying for trainings, paying for seminars, because I have to, first of all, prove it to myself. I am not where I wanted to be by this time in my life, but I'm not where I used to be. And I'm not going to be where I don't want to be. I know that the destination is clear because the strategy is very clear. It's repeatable, it's consistent, and it's discipline that takes it there. Think about it for a second. Over the last 50 years, the US, think about all the things that have happened that have affected the US stock market. In the 1970s, they had the Iran conflict, right? They had the issues of stagflation, the oil conflict. You go back even before the 1970s, you have the Cuban Missile Crisis. You come to the 1980s, you had the struggle. You come to the early 2000s, right? The dot-com crash. You come to 2008, the housing crash. You come to, 2020, you have COVID-19. As recently as 2025, Donald Trump came in with some tariffs and the stock market dropped by about 12% or whatever it is. But you know what? Every time one of those things happen, you go on the news, all the journalists are saying war and doom is coming. America is going away. I was watching the status of one of my big brothers today on Instagram a few minutes ago, and he has this video of this guy talking about the fact that the US stock market is a scam. It's not going to work. And I looked at the guy, I laughed. I said, he's just trying to garner attention to bring people to deceive them to make money, because this thing has been existing for 110 years. This is the #1 stock market in the world. The US stock market is bigger than the second to the 5th largest stock market combined. There is a reason why the countries are complaining they're still trying to come and invest in the US stock market. There's a reason why they still buy American treasury bills and American bonds. You know why? Because there is something about the innovative spirit of this country, the freedom for enterprise to function, and it creates growth. And when it creates growth, it creates value. And when it creates value for everybody. If you watch the news recently, Elon Musk was given a 10-year, $1 trillion contract by Tesla. In the next 10 years, if Tesla becomes an $8 trillion company, Elon Musk would have earned $1 trillion. But you know the beauty? If Tesla becomes an $8 trillion company, what it means is that the price of Tesla stocks is supposed to have grown, which means the value of the company would have grown, which means if you own Tesla stocks, the value of your portfolio with Tesla stocks would have grown. So everybody wins, guys. Don't worry about Elon Musk's trillion. That's not your business. Worry about your own economy. What are you doing with it? How does it work? Do you have a consistent investment plan? Another mistake a lot of us immigrants do is we try to do it manually. Automate your investment system. Automate the transfer of the money into the investment account and automate the purchasing of the investment assets. Don't try to do it by your own power. You will fail. You will fail. Listen to me. Because what happens when you automate it, it has been psychologically proven. There are studies out there. What happens when you automate it, you adjust to what is left. The human mind expands to meet the money it has available to spend. And it goes back to meet the money it has available not to spend. That's how it works, guys. That's how it works. That's basically how it works. There are a lot of things we're learning today that we didn't know. And when I talk about the things I talk about with so much passion, I'm not trying to please nobody. I'm not trying to impress nobody. I have a seminar coming up on the 26th of February. It's $197. You have a choice. You can buy it if you want to learn something. I know for a fact the value of that seminar is at least $12,000, $13,000 I'm giving for that price. I know that. You want to buy it, you buy. You don't want to buy it, that's fine. I'm not the one losing. You're the one losing because your lack of clarity, your lack of knowledge, your lack of understanding on how to invest on the market is costing you money. You keep postponing that decision. You keep looking at it and thinking, how am I going to do this? You keep looking at it and wondering. That lack of clarity is costing you more than anything you could spend to attend a seminar like that, guys. You must understand that the most important and the most valuable asset you have is you. That's the most valuable asset you have. You looking at me right now. You are the most valuable asset. Everything that will happen will start first of all from here. From you believing, from you growing yourself, training yourself to understand, from you having clarity on the things that are important for you in your life. For you understanding very clearly what is it you are going after, what is it you need, what is it you are working for. I've had clients come to me, and when they talk to me about their goals, I realize it's not a good match. Their goals do not align with what I teach, so I don't have to take their money. I tell them, I'm sorry. Hey, go to somebody else. You know why? Because it's not in the business of trying to just make money. It will come eventually. It's not. I have no doubt in my mind. It's very clear to me. Because there is value. If there was no value, you wouldn't be hanging out with me for the last 25 minutes. You have better things to do with your time, don't you? This is Instagram. You could be looking at a lot of other things. The reason why you're listening to me is because you find something of value. And eventually, it will grow by thousands and millions of people who find that value. Whatever you're doing with your life, whatever it is that is your skill, don't be in a hurry. Just understand that there are people out in the world who need that service you have, that skill you have, that information you have. The key thing is platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of these platforms have given us the ease for those people to find us. That's why I'm not worried. It might take me 5 years, 10 years. They will find me. And they will see me. And whatever you are doing, they will find you if you are intentional about it. If you start working about it, if you start working on it and giving it some time. Let me tell you something, guys. The studies show out there, every business that is successful, that is sustainable, and that is long-lasting, it took at least 5 to 7 years for the business to even generate its first profits. It took about 10 years to stabilize. I don't know if I make sense here. People talk about wanting to build generational wealth, but they don't want to hold assets for generations. What are we talking here? You are talking about building generational wealth. You don't want to invest in Tesla for 10 years. You don't want to invest in an index fund for 10 years. You don't want to invest in the stock market for 20 years, but you want to build generational wealth. Generation is 20 years, I think so. I believe it's 20 years. Hey, listen, I was one of those in secondary school. If there are 45 people passing number 44 Gustav Achu, I walk through the door. Awesome. So guys, feel free. Drop any question you might have, all right? I hope to be able to see that. But today, I just wanted to stop by for a brief moment to just reassure anybody listening to me right now, right? That don't make decisions based on what you see on the stock market going on today. Don't make decisions based on what the analysts are talking on TV about what is going to happen, how the world is coming to an end. The stock market is crashing. It is not crashing. Every so often there's a correction. All right? Every 2 times a year, 2 to 3 times a year, the stock market will drop by 5%. About once every 2 years, the stock market will drop about 15%. Once every 6 years, it will drop by about 20%. But in all of that, once you understand that, you don't have to panic. The only other thing you have to do, you have to make sure that you are buying companies and index funds that are proven. Don't go buying penny stocks because your friends talked about some cheap stock. You want to buy 1 million shares of that stock. You are going to lose a lot of money. I'm not saying that to impress or to scare you. I'm saying that from experience too. About 8 years ago, I lost a lot of money on the stock market investing in penny stocks. But that didn't stop me from continuing to invest. It just taught me a lesson. That was the tuition I paid. Right? So I'll just give you real quick how you analyze a company you want to invest in. This is just high level. If you want to get the details, you join my webinar, you join my community, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel because I do videos like this. I do a live video every night, all right, from 7 p.m. Central Time, 30, 45 minutes, and I talk about multiple different topics around money, around purpose, around wealth building, and around legacy building. So if you want to learn, even just attending my free presentations, you're going to learn a lot. You see, the human mind is like a sponge. You have to understand. A sponge doesn't absorb all at once. It absorbs and it keeps. It absorbs and it keeps. It absorbs and it keeps, right? You might not realize that you're learning until when you need that knowledge, then it starts coming. I don't have no notes around me. I didn't plan for this life. I didn't write down notes or anything. But all of these things I'm talking to you because I've repeated them over time. I've learned them over the years. It's stuck in my mind. I cannot unlearn them anymore. I cannot forget them anymore. It can only add value to my life, right? So basically, when you're trying to evaluate a company to invest in, and just for reasons of clarity, for most people, you have no business investing in individual companies, okay? Because investing in individual companies requires a certain elevated skill level. If you are just starting out, you don't want to invest in individual companies because investing in individual companies, it requires knowledge to evaluate them. It requires understanding. It requires time to follow them, read their financial reports, things like that. So most people will be very fine just investing in index funds and ETFs. And most people are actually fine doing that. So there's no problem with that. But I just want to give you an idea how you even think about investing in a company, right? The first thing you want to think about, number one, the financials of that company. Does that company make a profit? Number one, how long have they been consistently making a profit? You don't want a company that made a profit luckily for 1 year and they've not made a profit for 10 years. How can that be a sustainable business? It's probably just hanging on thin thread. That is the first thing. You want to see if they make a profit, right? Number two, how long have they been making a profit consistently, right? That's the second thing. The third thing, you want to see if that company has a solid financial, how do I put it? A solid financial reserve. You know why that is important? And all of this is public information. Any company that is traded on the stock market is a public company. And so if you go to websites like invest.com and things like that, you can pull up the company name, you click on the company details, you'll see all this information, all right? The reason why you want to know if the company has a solid financial reserve is that shit happens. I want you to think about it. The company's financial reserve is like your emergency fund. Everybody must have an emergency fund because shit happens. You can get into an accident, you lose your car, you need to buy a new car, the AC in your house could blow out, you could lose your job and you need to leave for some time without a job. So you need to have a saving somewhere that you can go back to, right? So companies are the same. Companies must have reserves because things happen. Sometimes, for example, there could be a global pandemic like there was in the year 2020. Companies still had to pay some staff during that time. They still had to keep the company running. They still had to pay heating bills, cooling bills, rental for building. They still had to pay security people. They still had to keep the company running, even though they might not be making income because there was no sales at that time, right? So companies need a financial reserve. So you want to look at the financial reserve of the company. The fourth thing you want to look at in the company is something called a competitive advantage. What is a competitive advantage of a company? A competitive advantage is that thing that the company does or produces that is so difficult for other people to just come and copy it and take over their market share. Generally, when you're listening to finance videos like this, you hear us call that the moat. What a moat is simple, right? In the olden days, in the 18th centuries, the way monarchs were protected, they would build their castle, and around their castle, they would dig a big gaping hole. And in that hole, they'll fill it with water and create a man-made lake. And then they'll put crocodiles in that lake so that anybody who wants to get to the monarch will have to go through the lake to get to that castle. And to go through that lake, the crocodiles are going to attack you and kill you. So that is called a moat. So a moat basically is the company's competitive advantage. Think about a company like Microsoft. What is Microsoft's moat? 96% of computers in the world run on Microsoft programs. I want you to hear me very well. 96% of all computers in the world run on Microsoft programs. So what that means is it's going to take a long time for anybody to come and take that market share for Microsoft. I am preparing the seminar for you guys for the 26th of February, and I was working with my team today, and they were working on stuff on the Google document stuff, right? Google has its own PowerPoint. Google has its own, I think it's called Google Present or something, Google Sheets. They have their own Excel. I looked at it, I laughed, because that's the number one competitor to Microsoft when it comes to some of those applications like Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint. They are not even 1/10 close to what Microsoft applications can do. So Microsoft, for example, that is a moat. So when you are investing in a company like Microsoft, you can even close your eyes. And by the way, guys, listen, I'm not a financial advisor, okay? I am not certified. I have no certification to advise nobody on money. Listen, this is just my opinion. I am an educator. I am just sharing my ideas and opinion. If it makes sense to you, take it and run with it. Do your own research. Remember, investment comes with risk. And if you're taking your risk, do your own research, right? At least that's what social media requires us to say. All right. But these are things that have worked for me. So if you want to copy them, it's at your own risk, but feel free. So a company like Microsoft, you know for a fact that when you're investing in Microsoft, you're investing in a company that is still going to be dominant for the next 20 years or more. Now, when you're investing in a company like Tesla, for example, you know that you are not only investing in a car company, because one of the things people don't realize about Tesla, guys, is Tesla is not a car company. That's what people don't realize. I hear people telling me, oh, they should let Chinese EV cars come to America. It's going to destroy Tesla. I laughed. The board of directors of Tesla didn't give Elon Musk $1 trillion in compensation for electronic vehicles. That's not where the game is. It is being projected that in the next 20 years, 1 out of every 2 homes in the world is going to have a robot. Listen to me and listen to me very, very well. 1 out of every 2 homes is going to have a robot. That is one. Number 2, in the next 20 years, fewer and fewer people are going to own cars. I have a car sitting in front of me here. My wife's car is here. I basically have access to 2 cars. I hardly use them, other than dropping my kids in the morning, picking them in the afternoon, and working all day in my office. Why do I really need a car, for God's sake? Why am I paying insurance when I could just call a Tesla and get into it, and the Tesla will carry me without a driver and go drop me? I have seen it work in downtown Austin. I'm planning to go take a ride in it. It is already existing, guys. It is not something for the future. The Tesla robotic taxis, the self-driving cars. So what is even going to happen is that Tesla owners will be able now to own the Tesla vehicle, park it in front of their house, sit in their office and they're working, or maybe at their offices, and then the car will be able to self-drive itself and go work for Uber and other and work like an Uber vehicle, make money and come back in the evening and pick the owner and take them home. And you sit here and you are telling me Tesla is a car company. You guys are joking. You guys are joking. So when you're investing in a company like Tesla, you understand that you are investing in a future that has explosive potential. And a lot of the potential has been proven, right? When you're investing in a company like Apple, Apple has 7 billion devices in this world. You know what Apple's moat is? You know what Apple's competitive advantage is? Once you lock into the Apple ecosystem, you are not leaving. That's why I've never owned an Apple device. My entire family uses the iPhone. I don't. Because if I get an iPhone, that's it. You are done. You are not going out. You will get an iPhone, you will get an iPad, you will get the watch, you will get the glasses, you will get their coverage, you will get their insurance, you will get their maintenance, you will get everything. And you know these Apple people, they always feel like they are special, right? Right? It feels like a cult. That's a competitive advantage. Apple is going nowhere. If you invested $1,000 in Apple 31 years ago, you would have gotten up to, what is that, 10 million or something right now? I was looking at that thing. I have a slide here, but I don't think I can share that on Instagram. Instagram doesn't allow sharing, I think, right? So we are talking here about companies that are proven. So why do you want to make the mistake of trying to go invest in companies that are not proven? Because maybe you are thinking in your mind that, oh, you know, instead of spending $1,000 to buy 2 Microsoft shares, which is, I think, somewhere about $500 now, I would rather take that $1,000 and buy penny stocks, which is 10 cents, and for $1,000, I can get 10,000 or 100,000 of them. Ask my brother Kangelio. We have invested in penny stocks and we know what it does. There's nothing there for you, my brothers and sisters. Nothing. A few people succeed in investing in penny stocks, but it's just 1 out of millions. So that's not the norm. The way you make money investing in the US stock market is investing in proven companies and index funds consistently over a long period of time. Period. Anybody who tells you anything different, they're trying to get you to lose your money. I don't know of any billionaire trader. I don't know of any billionaire who traded and made billions. The few I know in history who traded and made billions, they lost the money and some of them committed suicide. A few months ago, one of the most celebrated investors in the history of the world, Warren Buffett, retired from, what's his company name again? I forget the company name, right? I mean, you know his company. This guy started investing at the age of 11. And let me explain to you something, guys. You know, when I'm talking about this, I get very emotional because I understand the possibilities of what investing and sacrificing for a short period of time in your life can do. Like most people, I wish I knew this many years ago. I wish I had this understanding, but I don't. Some of you don't either. Some of you might be in your 40s listening to me. In your 30s, it's not too late. It is not. Let nobody deceive you. All right? If you didn't do it in your 20s, start doing it in your 30s. If you didn't do it in your 30s, start doing it in your 40s. Let me tell you why. Because the most important power is the compounding. Warren Buffett started investing at the age of 11. He made his first million in his 30s, right? He got to $1 billion in his 50s. Do you know that 99% of Warren Buffett's net worth was gained after the age of 60, sorry. No, after the age of 55. Do you know that? 99% of his net worth. So whatever he is worth today, I don't know if it's probably, if you include the amounts of money he has given out to charity, because he gave a lot of money to charity over the years. If you include that, Warren Buffett should be worth at least $600-700 billion if you include compounding on that money. And this guy, and I want you to understand this guy built the significant 99% of his wealth came in the later part of his life. That's the power of compounding, number one. Number two, The only technology company Warren Buffett invested in is Apple. And he invested in Apple later in his career. He started buying Apple stocks in 2016. And as of last year, his Apple stocks alone over the years had given him about $14 billion in dividends and returns, just the Apple stocks alone. He himself, he confessed that the Apple made him more money than all other investments he ever did put together. One company. One. Number 3, Warren Buffett invested in a total of 500 companies in his entire career, which runs above 60 years in the business. And in those 500 companies, only 3% of those 500 companies gave him 98% of his wealth. So you don't gamble. The stock market is not gambling, guys. Forget it. It's not gambling. You are not trying to guess. You are not trying to imagine what might be possible, what might not. Don't do that. That is why when I organize webinars like what I'm organizing on the 26th, it's a shortcut for you. Because the value you're going to get from it, the transformation is going to do for your life, it's not even worth. You come out of that webinar, you tell me, Gustav, you gave me free. Thank you. You will be the one to send me more money. I don't say this to back. I'm just saying this because this is what I've decided I want to do with my life. So to me, the money will come one way or the other because the value is there. So I'm not in a rush. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to make you understand that anytime you delay the process of getting knowledge, information, guidance, mentorship, and structure in investing your money, that's how you keep losing. And that's how you keep even losing more. Guys, you need to understand how these things work, right? So when you are investing, you want to invest in companies that are proven. You want to invest in companies that have a track record. You want to invest in companies that have a competitive advantage. You want to invest in companies that have profitability. Companies that have been making money over a certain period of time. In my case, the way I evaluate companies, you need to have made profit over the last 5 years, consistently. You also have to understand when you are investing, you must also be clear about the time horizon. Investing is a game for long-term players. It's not a game for short-term thinking. If you want to invest for the next 6 months, you are better off not putting your money investable in 6 months. You must be able to dedicate yourself to investing 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You might not be alive in 50 years, but whatever you invest, you will benefit from it. You will spend the money, and what you leave, your children will spend some. And as it keeps growing, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will spend that. That is how some of the greatest families have done it. You can do it for your own self in your own little way. That's how it works, guys. Think about it this way. This is the power of compounding. This is what blows my mind every time I think about this. Do you know that if you invest $10,000 a year, which is $833 a month, and you invest that in a simple index funds, averaging a growth of 8%. I'm not even talking about the market average of 10%. I'm talking about 8%. $833. Take your pen and paper, write this down. If you don't get anything from this video I'm talking to you today, use this thing I am telling you right now and see what will happen to your life. If you take $133, you invest that every month in a simple index fund, in a simple ETF. And if you need to know what kind of ETFs, index funds you need to invest in, you can always, join the webinar, come to my community and ask some questions, and I'll help you with that, right? If you do that, the first 13 years, that money is going to grow to $250,000. But that is not even the icing on the cake, guys. That is not even the sweet spot. After it grows to $250,000 within the first 13 years, if you continue to do that same thing over the next 13 years, it is going to grow to $1 million. So I want you to understand me here. So the first 13 years, it grew from 0 to 250,000. The next 13 years, it grows from 250 to by $750,000 more to $1 million. Fidelity published a study a few weeks ago by the end of last year. Fidelity is the platform that also has a significant amount of retirement accounts. And this is what Fidelity said. And let me take a sip of water, please. Let me give you some statistics. Fidelity has 653,000 accounts on Fidelity retirement accounts that are above $1 million. So 653,000 people who are subscribed on the Fidelity platform, their retirement accounts are above $1 million. That is one. The second thing, the average retirement account on Fidelity, which is above $1 million, is $1.4 million. The average age of those people who own those $1 million accounts is 59 years old. The reason why I'm sharing this is so that you understand that it's not too late, guys. You know, sometimes when you sit in front of some of these presentations we do as finance people and finance coaches, you see this graph and those calculators. If you start from 20 years old, most of you are already past 20 years old. So I don't want to depress you, but I want to give you realistic numbers to tell you that it's still possible, right? Their average 59 years old. Here is even the interesting one. This is the one that is the best. They only invested 14% of their annual income consistently. And it took them 26 years to get from zero to average of $1.4 million. Story end. Over. Guys, church don't close when I get offering. Oh my God. That's it. So what it told me is that if a young person starts working, let's say you're 20, 21 years old, and you invest just the first hour of your day. So every day you go to work, you dedicate the first hour of that day to investing. By the time you're in your 51 years old, you're already past $1 million mark. And that will amount to about 12% of your annual income. I'm not talking about including going beyond that, including raises and all that stuff. What that tells me and what that teaches all of you listening to me is simple. Investing and successfully investing on the stock market requires three things. There are only three pillars. There are three pillars you must always consider. The first pillar is how much time does that money stay on the market to compound? That's the first pillar. The second pillar, what is the compounding rate, which is called the growth rate? Is it averagely 8%, 6%, 10%, 12%? That is the second pillar. The third pillar is how much money you invest. In terms of importance, the most important of those three pillars is the number one pillar, which is time. The sooner you invest, the sooner you grow, the sooner you build wealth, the sooner you get to where you're aspiring to get. That is the most important pillar. The second one is the growth rate, because the percentage growth determines also the amount of compound, not the amount of compounding, but the speed at which it compounds, right? So think about it this way. The $833 example I just gave you a few minutes ago, if it was growing at about 12%, it wouldn't have taken 13 years. It would have taken maybe 10 years or something, maybe 9 years, I don't know. You can do that to verify the math, right? So that's the power of the growth rate. Now, the third thing is the amount of money that's been invested. So for most of you listening to me, most of the people who are in my communities, they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, right? Most of them are immigrant people who come to America. They've hustled, done different things, ship shoes to Cameroon to go and sell like I did a few years ago, tried all kinds of business, and they realized, you know what? Shipping containers is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And then they finally realized, God, they stumble on one of my videos and they go, you know what? Maybe I should start investing. That's why I say it's not too late. But now, because maybe you have another 20 years to 65, or maybe 19 years, or maybe whatever it is, 15 years, or whatever your goal is, maybe to 70. Remember, retirement is not an age. Retirement is a decision as to what At what point in your life does your passive income, is your passive income able to replace your active income? That's when retirement happens, which means you have an option at that time to do whatever you want to do. That is what most people really seek with their life, even though they cannot verbalize it, right? So let's say you do the math now and you calculate the number of years you want to still keep actively working and investing and all of that, right? You take the money you want to have, and then we can reverse engineer it, calculate the number of money you need to be investing a month, and you just go out there and do that for the period of time you need to do it and see what will happen. It's going to happen, not what will happen. It's not guesswork. It's just going to happen, right? Nobody has a magic crystal, but 110 years of history is enough to advise me of what is possible, right? So what I'm simply saying here, guys, is whatever you do, it doesn't matter. You might be working for somebody. That is a good thing. Most people are going to build wealth just working as employees. You might be an entrepreneur like myself. That is a good thing. Whatever income is coming in, invest that. What I am saying is that one of the safest, fastest, surest, and most disciplined and easiest ways to build wealth steadily over time is through the US stock market. That's my story. That's the story I want to convince each and every one of you to understand. Don't wait any longer if you're not taking advantage of that. And when I'm talking about investing, I'm talking about investing. I'm not talking about trading. I'm not talking about buying Apple today, selling it tomorrow. You want to do that? This is not the channel to do that on. I don't coach people on trading. I don't. I coach people on how to invest steadily over a period of time, staying disciplined, consistent, and not looking back. And the only way you invest over a period of time in discipline and consistency without looking back is when you automate your systems. When you do what? When you automate your systems. When you take away the human element. I was watching a video the other day, and there is a robot in the Amazon warehouse that has worked for 5 months without breaking down, without maintenance. Right? That thing has been working in the warehouse for 5 months without maintenance. No toilet break, no vacation, no please, I want to go smoke. I don't feel good today because you went out on Saturday, drank too much. None of that stuff. It just keeps going. So you have to also understand you must, when you are trying to invest and build wealth, you have to get out of your way. Get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. Don't try to do it manually. Don't try to decide what to invest every month. It's not going to work. Set it up. If you don't know how to set it up, you join my community, you come to the webinar. We are going to talk about all those things. You set it up so it happens automatically. You have to pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Paying yourself first means any money you make, by the time it gets to your account, the first thing that happens is the money for your investment. Because nobody is in the best position to take care of the old you like the younger you. That's just the reality. As a father, as a parent, my number one goal with my life is, number one, not to be a burden to our children. I don't want me and my wife to be a burden on our children. No. 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 Number two, it is important that when our grandkids are told that Thanksgiving is coming, they want to come and spend Thanksgiving in our home, not in their in-laws' home. You know, one of my mentors told me that thing at the conference I attended in California, and it blew my mind. The man told me, Gustav, let me tell you something, man. During Thanksgiving, during Christmas, my grandchildren, they are 5 and 7. They'll tell my son and their mother, who is my daughter-in-law, we want to go to Grandpa. They'll say, which Grandpa? They will only call his name. We want to go to Grandpa Craig. We want to go to Grandpa Craig. He said, Gustav, you know why? Because when they come here, they have a good time. I have a little bit of something for them. Right? So, I mean, hey, I'm just saying that the first thing, you have to be clear about why you're investing. You have to gain clarity. You have to spend time to determine what is it that gives you contentment in your life. What is it that is your goals? As you might be experiencing now with your life, if you are in your 40s, mid 40s, as you start getting older, a lot starts crystallizing to you. You start getting less, you start giving less value to certain things that you used to value a lot when you were younger. And you start giving more value to things that are related to your legacy, things that are maybe related to your purpose, because mortality also becomes a very striking force. Think about it this way, guys. An average male in this country lives for 76 years. Averagely. That is 76 summers. That is 76 winters. That is 76 springs and fall. I am going to be 49 years young in March. All right. So if you say I'm an average man, I live to 76 years. At the age of 49, I basically have another 27 years to live. That's it. 27 summers, 27 winters, 27 Christmases in Cameroon or wherever, 27 years. That's it. And of those 27 years, most likely the last 6 after the age of 70, maybe I will not be in the best physical condition. I am 6'4". I'm not a small guy. So maybe my knees might not carry me as hard as they need to carry me. But you know, Tofia back to sender, he will carry me. But I'm just saying that, you listen, at this point in our lives, you start looking at life from a very different perspective. You should start being able to clarify the things that mean what they mean to you. To me, it is very important that should something happen to me in my life today, let's say I fall dead, which is something that is possible, it can always happen. My children and my wife should be secured. My wife shouldn't make decisions based on financial need. She should make decisions based on things that have been set up in a way that it can grow and the assets can develop value over time to take care of herself, the children, and all of those things. What is important in my life today? I want to make sure that I'm able to contribute to humanity the way my parents did. That is important to me. What is important to me, which is a pipe dream for me, I want to be able to drive around Africa in a car like the tourists used to do in the 80s, and we watch them on TV doing Dakar Paris. People will come from thousands of miles on the world and know our continent more than we do. If I can bring my wife and kids along, if they really want to come along, that would be a great privilege for me. I would love that. If not, I will understand too, because the goals might not necessarily always be the same. But we all, as we grow older, you start realizing that there are some things that have to take front seats in your life. What I'm doing today, talking to you, teaching about purpose, teaching about building wealth, teaching about legacy, that's what I believe I was born to do. That's what I want to do with the rest of my life till I die. Because I've identified that as my own calling. And it will be a travesty in my life to die with that music in me. The pain of me dying with that music in me is worse than the pain of attempting to deliver on that vision, on that destiny, on that purpose, and not necessarily achieving all the goals I wanted to. At least I would have tried. I want to encourage you to that as you get along in life, find a way to work on some of those things that mean a lot to you. Because when it's all said and done, let me tell you, when it's all said and done, the human being as a person doesn't need a lot to be happy. I was watching a video by a guy I watch on YouTube. He's called the Financial Tortoise. He's an Asian guy. He talks about money, finance, and all that stuff. The last 1 year, he took time off. He has young kids. His kids, I think, 10 and 12 or something. 2 kids, a boy and a girl. He took his kids out of school. No, they took their schoolwork. And he and his wife and his 2 kids, they decided to travel the world for the next 2 years. And in that process, they traveled to Japan, Holland, different parts of the world on their journey. And they realized he did a video and he said something. He said he couldn't believe that they will leave their 3,000 square feet home in California. There are 2 cars. And for the last 6 months, they've been on the road. They each have 2 small valises and a hand luggage. And they've been so happy. All the clothes in their closet doesn't mean anything. They just wear their jeans, t-shirts, underwear. They wash it at hotels as they go along, and they're just enjoying life. And then he said it reminded him that, wow, a human being doesn't need much to be happy. What a human being is really looking for most of the times in their lives is the freedom and options. The freedom and options to do things at the time they want, when they want, and the way they want to do it. And one of the vehicles that can help lead you to that place is by investing, by sacrificing now for a future time. By applying some of your gifts along with whatever else you're doing as a career to make sure that your purpose doesn't die. Because you have to understand there's a difference. You have something called your job and you have something called your work. Your job is what you're paid to do. Your work is what you're born to do. You can be fired from your job, but you can never be fired from your work. Your job will build you a life. Your work is what builds you a legacy. You need to understand that. The reward of your work might be money. The reward of your job goes beyond money. Your job might be money. The reward of your work goes beyond money. It is contentment. It is impact. It is legacy. Firing will happen. Studies are telling us that in this generation going forward, most of our kids, they are going to change careers 4 times and they're going to change jobs 7 times. If you work in the tech industry and you still have a job over the last 4 or 5 years, you're lucky. Over the last 3 years, close to 1 million people have been thrown out of the job. Last week, Amazon fired another 16,000. Microsoft is firing some. AI is coming into play. Companies are getting more efficient, so they don't need as much staff. What that tells me is that, yes, whether we have a job or not, it's good. But you also have to be working on those gifts that God gave you. Those skills that God gave you, those things that are innate to you, you also have to be fine-tuning those things, because there might come a time you would have to generate income for yourself. That's the reality of the economy we are living in. Do you know what? Amazon has fired so many people. I was sad when I heard of the general numbers they fired over the last 3 years. But you know what has increased? Their revenue per head, which means the amount of revenue each worker for Amazon generates, has increased about 2 times. I am sad for the people who got fired, but I'm happy because we own Amazon stocks. So what that is telling me is that the company is becoming more valuable. The stock price is not representing that yet, but know that Amazon is a killer. It's not financial advice. I'm just talking. Anybody who hears me, hears me. Amazon over the next 10 years is going to be a money-making machine because it has a moat. It's still the #1 online e-commerce platform in the world. Still owns about 80-something% of the market share. It's continuing to innovate. Now it's getting into AI. It's not running behind on the AI race. Let me tell you a story, guys. I worked for Oracle for 4 years. Oracle is one of the top technology companies. And I remember the day Oracle was opening its campus here in Austin, Larry Ellison came into town. Larry Ellison is the chairman, founder of and chief technology officer for Oracle. He came into town, and during the conference, it was a staff meeting. And so it was each time they hold it in one location. It might be Austin, but that year it was Austin because they were just opening that campus in East Austin, downtown. And he said something. He said he's sorry. And everybody looked at him and said, why? He said, you know, a few years ago when this whole thing about cloud started, because Oracle had 75% of the market share for databases, Oracle could care less about cloud. So Oracle, so companies like Amazon that started after Oracle, because Amazon developed its computing capacity to handle its e-commerce business. And as he went ahead, he realized that they didn't need that much capacity. And he started figuring out a way to sell that capacity. That's how he started developing now its cloud platform so that other companies could buy subscription, and Amazon will be able to provide them the service for their compute, the service to handle their applications running on Amazon Compute. And that's how Amazon became the leader in the cloud space. So when Larry Ellison came, he said he's sorry that he really didn't understand. He thought it was just a bluff and that kind of thing, right? He actually on that day took this white thing, I forget how they call it, that they put over cake. Is it whipping cream or something? And he put on his face and people were laughing. But what I'm trying to tell you is that, listen, guys, don't sleep on some of these companies that are proven, have a track record, and have a competitive advantage. You have to understand how the world is working. You have to understand where the trends are going. One of the new trends that is not new per se, but one of the fastest growing trends is e-payment systems, right? E-platforms. The old banking system is still there, but the innovation that is needed for the Wells Fargo's and all of that to transform and catch up, it will take them a little bit of time to catch up to a more AI, a more technologically advanced company and platform like SoFi. You don't want to sleep on a company like that. This is not financial advice. It's just the companies that I look at closely. You don't want to sleep on a company like SoFi, because SoFi is a company that they're projecting in the next 15 to 20 years might actually have more clients, might actually be controlling more assets in terms of their banking holdings than traditional banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of America. Banks like JP Morgan, they have their investment bank separate from their commercial bank, right? Separate from their retail banking. So you need to understand how these things work, guy. When I talk about these things, I just want to be able to share this information with people. I just want to be able to get everybody getting on track and doing well. You know why? Because you investing, making millions of dollars doesn't take away what is possible for me and my own family. It's not a winner. It's not a winner take all business. Your success doesn't take anything away from me. On the contrary, it adds something to me. You know why? Because if you are my friend, you're somebody I know. If I need help with my charity, I will call you up and you'll be able to donate some money to that charity. If you don't have money, you cannot donate. That's the reality. We need to understand how these things work, guy. I have an interest to make sure we all win. So you should have an interest to make sure I win too. Because when we all win, it's better for all of us. It is better for everyone. Because the cake is big enough. If the cake is not big enough, let's go out and bake a bigger cake. Nothing wrong with that. You can only do one thing at a time. You can only do one job at a time. You can only sleep on one. What else can you do? So I hope you take some of the information I'm giving you. Do your own research. If it makes sense, you invest in some of those companies. But I wish you well. I want you to win so bad. I want you to win. Because when you win, the world is a better place. Let nobody say anything. You know, when we're growing up, there were all of these idioms that were lying to us for nothing, right? Money doesn't buy happiness. Let me tell you, it's better to cry in a Mercedes than on a bicycle. If money doesn't buy happiness, what has poverty ever bought? But I want to leave me a rest. What has poverty bought other than most of the problems in this world is because of poverty? Don't you know that? You think it's funny when you're driving your Mercedes and passing and the next person doesn't have food to eat? But a lot of the things we can do, a lot of the things that we aspire to do to change our communities, to change our lives, to change our societies, we need money. Let nobody tell you nothing. We need money. So for those of us who are privileged to be living in America, we have a special role. We have a special privilege. Don't take it for granted, guys. Don't take it for granted. Don't get yourself involved with some emotional investments that don't make sense. I had a prospect come the other day to me for me to advise him on a project he was trying to do. And let me share this with you guys. This guy told me, Mr. Hachu, I have a project. I said, what's the project? He said he wants to build a rental property, you know, Airbnb, all of that. It's a whole complex which has a hall in the bottom. It has rental apartments. You also have some whatever. I said, boy, that makes sense. But have you done the numbers? He said, yes, he's done the numbers. He's estimating to spend about $1 million over the next 5 years on that project. I said, okay, have you done the numbers on the returns of that project? He said, yes, he's done the numbers. It's going to take him 28 years to break even. Break even means from the rents and everything, income the thing will be generating, it's going to take 28 years to make the amount of money that he put on it. And this doesn't consider wear and tear and all that stuff. I said, okay. I said, naturally, the way it works is, if you've been around people who invest in any kind of asset, including real estate, buildings, homes, houses, and things like that, there's always an emotional element to it which you cannot underestimate. I said, there is no question. You are very emotionally invested in this project. You like it. I said, how much money do you have to invest in the project right now? He said he already has $500,000 available. I said, okay, let me tell you something, guy. Let me put this straight to you. All right? If I were you, this is what I was going to do. I will take that 500,000. You have a 5-year period to do that project. Remember, the only reason it takes a long time to build a lot of buildings is because money is short. People have to come and work doubles, put some small money, work doubles, send 1 million, work doubles, send $2,000. That's why they're building a Costco next to my house here in Austin, Texas. That Costco will take less than 7 months to build from the ground, and the Costco is opening in July. It's not up to a year. They are building Costco, Target, Home Depot. All of them are going to be constructed in less than 6 months. You know why? Because the money is available. They buy all the materials, all the staff. They get to work night and day, and they finish it. So I told him, this is what I think you should do. If I was you, this is what I was going to do. You have $500,000 and you want to do that project over a 5-year period. I would take that money and I'll come invest it in a basic index fund on the US stock market that averages 10% a year. All right. Now, when you invest that money, it's averaging 10% a year. That's a growth of $50,000 a year, averagely. Right? It certainly would be more, because if he works with me, I'm going to guide him to make more. The returns on the clients I work with is usually above 500. It's usually above 10%. But that's a story for another day. Now, I said, when you do that, number one, you have a return of that capital at $50,000 coming every year. So in 5 years, it's going to be 250,000 minimum. That's number one. Number two, when you invest on a brokerage, in a brokerage like Fidelity, there is something called a margin loan. Now, what a margin loan is just like a regular loan, but the brokerage platform gives you money, borrows you money against the value of your assets invested on their platform. So let's say you have a portfolio of 100,000. They might say, you know what, you've invested with us, you have $100,000. We are going to give you a loan for we are going to make a loan available to you for $75,000. And generally, Fidelity, all these other platforms, they'll generally tell you it's 12%. But let me give you a hack today. You call them up, you tell them if they don't match Robinhood, which is 4%, or whatever other platform, which is the lowest at that time, if they don't match that interest rate, you are going to take your money to the other platform. They are going to reduce the interest to 4%. Now, let's say it's even 5%. Guys, I want you to listen to me very well. All right? Listen to me very well. Let's say it's 5%. Now you put a $500,000, they might give you about 250, 300,000 available to you, right? Including now your $50,000 annual return. Of course, you're not spending all that money at once. Remember, you're spending it over a period of time. So let's say you want to break it down over 5 years. You want to break it down to 200,000 a year invested in building. What that means to me is that basically you take the 50,000, you borrow another 150,000 at 5%. 150,000 at 5%, 5% of 100 is 5,000. That's $7,500 a year in interest. I don't know if I make sense, guys. I'm not sure. I'm not the greatest mathematician. I might be wrong, but it's something about that amount, small interest like that. But here is where the power lies. Your capital has not been touched, because when they give you the margin loan, it doesn't come out of your money. It's just your money serves as security. So the capital, which is there, still keeps compounding. Do I make sense? So as it keeps compounding, what is happening is that your capital is still intact. So if you go do that project, you go build that beautiful thing because your heart feels like it's the greatest investment, and nobody comes to rent your apartments except in December when bush fallers come, and you're losing money hands over fist. You're losing money through your ear. You're not under pressure. You haven't lost all the money you work by your sweat. You are only losing money that you've taken here, and your account is generating returns that is replacing the loan. I don't know if I make sense, guys. Somebody tell me if I'm talking nonsense here. Please, if I'm not making sense, forgive me. Right? But that is the power. That is the power. Listen, America is still the greatest economy on earth. A lot of times I have arguments on my different forums, and people talk, oh, China is this, China. I say, you are saying China is great while you are living in Houston. What an irony. Why don't you go stay in Shanghai? Right? I am just saying that these are facilities that are available, guys. The number one thing you need to do is to avail yourself to have a little understanding of how this country works, how the financial system works. You know, finance is not a very sexy topic. That's why on live shows like this, you see a few of you who are serious about your life, who want to do something significant with your life, you join. If we were talking here about some gossip about somebody divorcing or this, that in the community, you see 1,000 people joining, right? Recently, there's a lady who's a young girl from Zimbabwe, was all over the news. Her Facebook platform was pulled down. That girl was able to garner 3 billion views in less than 1 month because she will come on this Facebook and attempt as if she's opening her private part for 1 or 10 seconds or 30 seconds or something and close it. And in 3 months, she was able to garner close to 3 million followers and subscribers. That's the stupidity people want to spend their lives doing. Meanwhile, stuff is happening and people complain and they don't know exactly how to solve the problems they have, right? So I told the person, I said, listen, if I had that kind of money and I wanted to absolutely do that project, that's what I'm going to do. Because one of the things that kills us as immigrants in this country is because we don't have a strategy to multiply our money. That's one of the things I'll be teaching during the webinar on the 26th of February. If you haven't secured your spot, make sure to secure your spot as soon as possible. We don't have a strategy. We come to America, we work hard, we do doubles, we make money, but we don't know how to multiply that money. That is where the problem really is. And because we cannot multiply that money over time, your body starts getting weaker. And as your body gets weaker, you can no longer function at the level in which you used to function. And then you get frustrated. You know why? Because you spend the first 10, 12 years of your life working and you took the 300,000 you saved over 12 years. You went and built an apartment in Guso in Yaoundé. And that apartment is giving you 200,000 for each 10 apartment. And the 10 is 2 million a month times 1 year is 24 million times 10 years. It's only 240 million. When are you going to make money? Can you go back to that place and take money which you can go treat yourself if you are sick? And you leave the stock market in America, which is the #1 building world vehicle in the world. You go build a big house. You're not even living there. You visit once every 3 years. I was watching a program on YouTube. This guy covered some parts of Anambra State because in Igbo land in Nigeria, it's a big deal. If you want to prove that you're a man, you got to build a mansion. And there is this part of town where these boys have built $1 million mansions. I'm talking about $2 million, $3 million. And if you know Nigeria, construction is very cheap in Nigeria. So a $2 million mansion is something like a $30, $40 million mansion in America. Guys, I mean, these things are bad. And I remember one of these guys, he owns a dealership in Maine. I think it's Maine or Rhode Island. Very successful Nigerian guy. And he came to visit this year with his wife and his one kid. And this house, he built it for $1.7 million. And the house has 14 bedrooms. The guy said he is even afraid because sometimes he hears noise in one part of the house. His heart is beating so hard. He is forced to let his family stay there, about 25 people, strangers and everybody, just to keep the place alive and they can maintain it. And so the journalist, the guy was interviewing him, is a Nigerian guy to a young YouTuber. And the guy asked him, why did you do this? He said, well, that's how I was brought up. That's my culture. That's how I've always known. The guy said, if you had to do it again, he said, no, I made a mistake. The guy said, why do you feel like you made a mistake? He said, since the house got completed, it took him about 7 years to build the house, and he's now about 12 years. He said he's been there 2 times in 5 years. And of those 2 times, for a total of 4 weeks. So the guy asked him, well, when are you retiring so you can come live in the house? He says, I still work actively. I own 2 dealerships. I have to run that business. I don't know if I'll even retire in Nigeria. Guys, you have to understand something. The reason why I talk a lot about mindset, because everything finance starts with the mind. Everything investing starts with the mind. It is an emotional thing. It is not intellectual. In fact, studies indicate that the most successful investors are usually people who don't actually have a college degree. You know why? Because educated people like you and me overanalyze. We want to see the numbers. We want to see how the spreadsheet looks like. We like complicated things because complicated things make us feel intelligent and superior. The successful investors invest in simple, boring, unsexy investments consistently over time. Simple index funds, simple ETFs, nothing complex. They're not investing in some company that is making a new neck brace. This company they are saying is going to be 10 billion in 2030. They're not investing in that kind of investment. Please don't do that. I mean, you're adults. You can go do it for all I care. I'm just saying that, because these are the things we have to understand. We have to understand, especially at the age we are. The average viewer of my community, members of my community, the average age is 35 years old for the youngest people. So I'm not talking here to kids, I'm talking to adults. We can no longer afford to make emotional decisions. We all are human. I understand that. I used to make a lot of emotional decisions. I've worked on myself over the years. I've improved on that. I am not perfect, but you know what? I am more conscious. I am more conscious. And it starts with clarity. It starts with identifying what is it that is important to you. You talk, somebody say, no, but it's important. I'm just giving you an example. You can go check that YouTube video. And all of the people they talk to, they express a lot of regrets because they realize that they made an emotional decision over something that is palpable. They went and buried money in these big mansions and they're not really living in it. They think the envision as enjoyment is not really what they want. I have a lot of people in their 60s right now. The biggest complaint they give me each time is that they no longer can climb the stairs to their bedrooms, which are upstairs. My friend's father is actually organizing for his room now to be constructed in the lower level of their home, on their home in Bafusam, because he can't climb the stairs anymore. His knees are hurting. So when you're trying to do those things, you have to think. You're 45 years old now, you're 50 years old. You want to go build a big mansion, fine and good, it's your money. But you have to think about the fact that in 15 years, your knees will start hurting. Will you be able to climb the stairs? Who is going to maintain the damn place? The place is only going to look beautiful if it's maintained. If the lights are on, the grass is good, the lawn is clean, the pool is working. If those things are not working, it's a dead zone. Guys, you must understand these things. I spend a lot of time educating myself. I don't have cable TV at home. I haven't had it for 6 years today. I watch YouTube, and everything I watch on YouTube is something that is helping my mind. I've watched a lot of videos on some of the successful, richest billionaires in Nigeria, Ghana, some of them in Cameroon. And sometimes you look at it and you ask yourself, whoa, is this it? They die, properties are abandoned, grass is growing. You go to Mobutu Sese Seko's palace in Guadeloupe. The fountain outside used to be the amplifier for the music inside. He invite dignitaries around the world for dinner. They are playing live jazz music, and the fountains outside, the water is moving in relation to the sound beats. And then what? Guys, what you're really looking for, what most people are really looking for, is freedom and options. Freedom to do the things you love to do, freedom to move the way you want to move, freedom to do and contribute to the charities, to the missions that mean a lot to your life. That's what most people are doing. That's what most people are looking for, right? And the other thing, don't compare. Comparing is the thief of happiness. Your needs are not the next person's needs. Most people actually would do very well with what they end up having, but their perception of what they think they need surpasses what they actually do. I watched an interview on 60 Minutes on CBS, and this behavioral psychologist, who is also a financial advisor, was talking about the fact that a lot of the clients that come to him, they always have anxiety about money. They feel like the world is coming to an end. They are struggling. And then when he looks at their balance sheet, they are not doing very badly. 50 years old, have assets of about $1 million, another 700,000 on the stock market, which if they just let that money grow by just basic compounding over the next 10 years before they get to 60 at 70,000 a year at 10%, they should be sitting comfortably at over 1 point something. So these are some of the things. You need to know your numbers. These are some of the things. This is why you need, if this is of interest, you need people who are trained to teach you these things. What is your number? A lot of people don't know what their retirement number is. What is the number that you're targeting? What is it you're looking for? Right? Once you understand this clarity, it changes all these dynamics for you. That's why if you haven't registered for my seminar coming up on the 26th, you have to be part of that seminar. These are the things we are going to be talking about in that seminar, right? These are the things we are going to be talking about, guys. Anyways, I wasn't planning to be out here this long. I was just planning to. This is the first time I'm doing an Instagram live, and I was just trying it out. Right? But I just got inspired to talk to you. I hope this helps somebody. I hope this information gives you some context, it gives you some direction, it gives you some help, it gives you some ideas on what to do, right? You certainly, of course, want to invest in your 401k. That's important, right? Generally, in my view, what I coach people who come close to me, you just want to invest the company match. So if the company is matching your 401k at 6%, just invest 6%. That's enough. You take the other part of the money, you invest that in a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is a tax-free investment account. So money grows tax-free. But now, because it is tax-free, the government caps that, right? You can only invest a maximum of 7,500. That is the 2026 max. And if you are 50 years and older, you can invest $8,000. That's the maximum. It also has some income limits. So if you earn a certain amount of money, it might not be possible for you to invest in a Roth IRA, but you have to check about all of that, right? And then once you max out your Roth 401, your Roth IRA, and then you open a traditional brokerage account. You can also invest in an HSA, sorry, a high savings, health savings account if you qualify for that. So if you have a high deductible insurance, a high deductible insurance comes along with something called an HSA, which is a health savings account. The whole idea is because since you have a high deductible insurance, the government gives you a chance to save some money tax free. That money is tax deductible at tax time. It grows tax free and it can be used tax free if it is spent on health related expenses. But the important part about that money, which is in the HSA, I think the maximum is for this year is $4,000. I think 4,000 or something. I need to really check those numbers. But the important thing with the HSA is that you can invest within the HSA. So that money just doesn't lie idle. You can invest it in an index fund, a mutual fund, or something, right? And it's not like I don't like the 401k, no. But the only reason why I recommend to a lot of people that they just need to invest the minimum match in the 401k is for these reasons. Number one, if your company is matching any amount of money, that is free money. That's 100% return. So generally, a company will say, you know what? If you invest up to 6% of your income, we are going to match. So let's say you're making 100,000, 6% of 100,000 is 6,000. So if you invest 6,000 in your 401k, the company will put another 6,000 and give you, and at the end of the year, you would have invested $12,000. That's a good thing. They usually give you a certain amount of time too for that amount of money to vest, which means they will say within the first 2 years, you only have 50% of the money they matched. Within the next 4 years, you have another 25%. And then when you reach your 5-year mark, you have 100% of that money. It is good. It is 100%. Now, the reason why, even though you can invest up to 20% of your income, right? Not more than 20, I think it's 24,500 this year. You cannot invest more than 24,500 in a 401k. But if you're doing something like a solo 401k, a solo Roth IRA, the rules are different for that because it's an independent business investment, right? So, but going back to the 401k, so the reason why you should just do only the match is because number one, the 401k is not very flexible, right? Number two, the assets that you invest in the 401k are mutual funds. And these mutual funds have high fees, maintenance fees. Think about it this way. If you invest in your 401k for 25 years at an average fee of about 1% or 1.5%, and your account grows to about $1.3 million, you would have paid about $250,000 in fees over that period of time. That's why I don't like the mutual funds, because mutual funds have a lot of fees. That's one. Number two, the 401k is not flexible. You cannot really choose maybe an individual company to invest in if you understand how to invest in individual companies. So you just have a set of mutual funds to invest in. So generally, if you invest to get the 100% match from your employer, that is good. Now you take the balance of money you want to invest, you max out your Roth for IRA, and then you take some of it, you put in your HSA, and then you move now the extra one into an individual brokerage account, which is a taxable brokerage account, like like a regular brokerage account on Robinhood or something. In that account, you can also invest in ETFs, you can invest in index funds, you can invest in regular companies. All right. So these are just some different tips that as we get along, we learn, we share, we get people to maximize their lives, maximize their earnings, maximize the money they make. If you found the information valuable, the way you can help me is just to share my channel, follow my channel, recommend my services to people, join my webinar coming up, share this information. That's very important to me, right? If it's of value to you, it's probably going to be of value to a lot more other people who are going to see it, right? So thank you guys for hanging out with me this long. I wasn't planning to make it this long, but I hope you found some value. I hope it made sense to you. And until the next time, I just want to remind you that you are enough for sure. No matter the circumstances, it doesn't matter what might have been spoken upon your life. It doesn't matter the circumstance of your upbringing that might have instructed you to feel like you're not smart enough, you're not intelligent enough, you don't have what it takes. I just want to remind you that you're smart enough, you're intelligent enough, you're strong enough, you're determined enough, and that you are capable to win in this life, right? That you are capable to win in this life. There is actually, let me see if I can pull up that verse real quick, please. And I want to share that with you before I close. Of course, I'm no pastor, I'm not I'm not a holy guy or anything, but I just chose to believe in God, right? I believe in a superpower, and I believe in the word that He shares. Let me share that with you. It's something about before He birth you. Bible verse. Let me see. I think this thing exactly. And that Bible verse is Jeremiah 1:5. And it says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. What that means to me is that each and every one of us has an assignment. Each and every one of us was set apart for something. Each and every one of us have something we can deliver on with a level of excellence that nobody else can. I want to encourage you to find some time to identify that thing. I make a very short prayer on my children when they go to school every morning and when they go to bed at night. They would stop by. I wake up generally a lot of times at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. By 6:30, 7, I'm sitting in my office already ready for work. I start reading, writing, preparing videos, making sales calls, all kinds of things. And when my daughters come in to go to school, I place my hand upon their head. Even when I'm dropping them at school, I'll turn around and I place my hand upon their head. And I say a very short prayer. I say, "Dear God, protect them as they go to school. Bring them back home safely and 1% smarter than they left this morning. I pray thee, Lord, that you open the eyes of their spirit to identify their gift and their purpose and give them the courage, determination, and persistence to pursue that the days of their life." Amen. That's it. I'm done. You know why? No matter what we do, yes, we'll go into different careers, we'll do different things. Always make sure you find a way to dedicate some time to your purpose, because that is what fulfills the soul. That is what fulfills the spirit. That is what gives you the reason to go through certain times in your life when nothing makes sense. I know that because I've been through some of those times. I filed for bankruptcy, paid over 100 and something to the bankruptcy court, foreclosed on 2 homes. My family shopped in Goodwill for 4 years. Lost everything we built for the first 10 years in our life in America. Had to start life all over. I start life all over. I'm working in the IT industry. My father dies in America. I'm driving in Washington, D.C., heading to the embassy to make arrangements to take him to Cameroon. My manager calls me on the phone. "Gustav, how are you?" I said, "I feel blessed. What an awesome day to be alive." He says, I say, "How are you, Bob?" He says, "It's fine." He said, "Gustav, I got bad news for you, man. We got to let you go. I'm sorry. We're going to let some people go." I was working for Oracle at that time, and you're one of them. Listen, guys, I didn't only lose my dad, but I lost my job. I was going to Cameroon to lay my dad to rest. I'm coming back to the US with no job. For a second, I felt this rush of anger and blood dry up all over me. And I'm thinking to myself, my wife is in school. How am I going to take care of my family? What am I going to do? But I told myself one thing. I said, Gustav, you know what? You got to stop being a child, man. You can be angry all you want. You gave them authorization to feed you, so you're giving them permission to starve you. So you got to figure out a way to make sure that at every point in your life, you are in control of your destiny, even when you're working for somebody else. That's what I want to encourage each and every one of you to do. You have something in you. You have a gift. You have something. You have experience. The work you've been doing, you know more than a lot of people. You can teach it. You can get on Instagram like I'm doing. Just talk. I don't have no notes. I didn't plan nothing. I'm just talking about my life. I'm talking about the things I know. I'm talking about the experiences I've had. I'm talking about the things I'm investing in, and it's helping somebody. If you guys have been hanging with me now for close to an hour, 30 minutes, there's got to be something I'm saying that makes sense. You have that thing in you too. What is your own story? Guys, we are living in a time today. I want to remind you guys before I go. We are living in a time today where everybody needs to understand you're a brand. And when I say you're a brand, I'm not talking about influencers for perfumes and shoes. If that's your deal, it is fine. I'm talking about the fact that education in this world has changed forever. By 2030, most of the education in the world will not be gotten by in formal classrooms. It will be gotten from processes like this. So whatever it is that you are doing, you have experience that somebody needs. You have knowledge that somebody needs. I see my brother Jam Sonic. This guy has created a brand of keyboards. This is the best pianist I know from the time I was a child to today. He plays his piano. He talks about it. He's always talking about it all the time. There are platforms. There are 8 billion people in the world. Instagram has 3 billion active users. 2 billion. Facebook has 2.4 billion. YouTube has 3 billion active users. So you are telling me that the thing you know, the knowledge you have in your head, the experience you've had of 4 billion, of 2 billion people on Instagram, there is no 100,000 people who might be interested in your message? There is. It's just a matter of time for those people to find you. Today you are sitting watching me. You are about 20 of you. You will go come back in a few months. It will be 2,000. In 10 years, it will be 2 million. I don't have a crystal ball, but all I know is that in this life, anything you want to do, it takes time to build. You have to do it over and over and over and over. And at some point, even the laws of nature will tilt in your favor. It's the same thing with investing, I'm telling you. All the people who are successful investors, they did it not for a season, not for a summer, not for a winter, not for a spring. They did it today. They did it tomorrow. They did it the day after. They did it the day after. They continue to do it for a long period of time, guys. There is something in you. What is that thing? Identify that thing. Continue to do what you do. But if you haven't started working on that thing, be working on that thing too. Because that thing might end up being the thing. Church don't close. Now the collect offering. For those who don't understand pidgin, I just meant church services. The sermon is over. Somebody has to collect offerings, right? Plant some seeds, guys. Plant some seeds. I'm just kidding. My brothers, sisters, thank you much for joining the live. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. God bless you. Go out there, be well, be blessed, and of course, never stop being a blessing to somebody. Until the next time, I'll see you at the top. Bye for now.